Saw, the final chapter, aka Saw 3D, is a 2010 horror film that is once again directed by Kevin Greutert, and the plot is we follow Detective Hoffman, who by this point is pretty much public enemy number one. I feel like everybody at this point knows that he's Jigsaw's apprentice, so he's trying everything he can to get out of Dodge, get out of town, escape from everything, but he makes it almost his last and final mission to kill Jigsaw's wife, Jill Tuck. Now, what I thought of Saw 7 is, I like this movie. I do. However, I will admit that because it is the last Saw film, you did want it to go out with a bang. You did want it to have this big, epic finality. And I'm not quite sure if we got that with this movie. First, let me talk about my favorite thing about this film. I mean, when I saw that they were doing this, I saw the trailer and whatnot, this made me so excited to see this movie. And I'm talking about, after all this time, we finally got to see what happened to Dr. Gordon. Yes, Cary Elwes makes his long-awaited return to the Saw films, and for years people have been saying, what happened to Gordon? What happened to him? And yeah, sure, I was curious too on what happened with him, but after a certain point, I just kind of said to myself, I guess we're never going to find out. I kind of assumed that he probably died from getting his foot cut off, loss of blood and whatnot, but the movie starts with Dr. Gordon dragging him and his foot missing self out of the bathroom, and just that opening alone gave me chills. It just, if you're going to end a Saw movie, it's definitely smart to start where the first movie ended. Let's see Detective Hoffman, like I said, because he's public enemy number one. He's America's Most Wanted. It's funny that he needs to get out of Dodge so bad, but he's still willing to kidnap a bunch of people for Jigsaw's last test, and he's willing to do anything to get to Jill. I'm talking about when Jill puts herself in protective custody, she's at a safe house. Hoffman is willing to go to any crime scene, even willing to go to the holding cell where she is, and kill as many people as he has to get to her. Which is a little far-fetched and a little over the top, but at the end of the film, when you see him kill at least 7 or 8 people, you kind of go like, wow, this guy's a badass. And that scar that he has from the end of the last film makes him that much evil looking as well. But Jill Tuck, let's talk about her for a little bit, because sure, you could say there's not a whole lot of characterization for her, but I think the fact that she is Jigsaw's wife, that does make me like her more than I should, and I definitely don't want to see her get killed, especially the scenes where she's clearly fearing for her life, having nightmares. She was just somebody that I wanted to get saved. Now, Detective Gibson is somebody that Jill goes to because she trusts him and wants help from him, and he was an okay character. I enjoyed this actor because the very first time I saw him was in the first Final Destination movie. So seeing him here play this cop, I thought he was amusing, like in the one scene where he's talking to Jill and he pretty much calls her batshit crazy by the way she's talking about Jigsaw and these traps. Because, yeah, Jill does come off a little crazy and weird. This other main character who we follow, Bobby, who he at the beginning claims to have survived a Jigsaw trap, and he wrote this book, and he's doing this book tour, making the rounds. And when I first saw this in the theater, I thought to myself, who is this guy? Why have I never seen him in a Saw movie if he survived? But then you find out, no, he's lying. He's never been in the trap. He's lying. He's using this to get money, fame, and fortune. I guess you can't really blame him, but how dumb is he really to think he could get away with this by not thinking anyone's going to find out, or the fact that Jigsaw would go after him for lying? So of course that's what happens. He gets put in this warehouse where he has to go through trials and tests where a lot of his colleagues are sprung up in these death traps, and he has to try to save them. The thing about this, though, is sure, most of his colleagues knew he was lying, but his wife is also chained up, and she's the last person he has to get to. And she didn't know anything about him lying. She had no idea. So I think her being in the situation and what happens to her, it's probably one of the most undeserved things I've seen in the Saw film. I didn't really care for that. I also didn't really care for the lack of Jigsaw here. I mean, okay, I know we got a shitload of flashbacks in the last movie with Tobin Bell, so I understand if it was hard to come up with more material for the guy, but Tobin Bell is such a great actor. He's so missed in this movie, especially because it's the last Saw film. You want to see more of him, even if it's for the last time. So I was upset by that. But let's talk about the traps, because if this series is going to end, you want it to end with a bang. At the beginning, we see that these two guys are chained with this saw in the middle, and this girl is hanging above them. You find out that she's been playing both of them, cheating on both of them. So at first, they're supposed to kill each other, but then they realize they should just let her die for deceiving them. I don't know, it might have been a little amusing to see them turn on her, but honestly, I thought this was all pretty weak. I thought to myself, really, a cheating girlfriend? That's the situation we've come to in the Saw film? And especially the fact that they're out in the public. They're outside in this glass sort of building, but still, everyone can see them in plain view. I just thought to myself, this seems really lazy. The trap that I actually enjoyed. You see this skinhead who his back is like glued to the seat of a car, and his girlfriend's underneath the tire, and his two friends are chained to the walls connected to the car, and he basically has to rip the skin from his back to try to stop this. And I thought that was so intense. It looked so real. That was a trap that made me go, okay, this feels more like a Saw film. And it was also different. It was original. The twist. The twist in this movie is that we see Hoffman gets to Jill and successfully kills her with the bear trap. And sure, okay, fine. This is the very first time we got to see what the bear trap can physically do to a person. So that might have been a plus. But like I said, I really didn't want to see Jill get killed. I didn't. She was one of the few good characters left. In fact, she's one of the only characters who literally had nothing to do with Jigsaw as far as what he was doing. She didn't approve of it. She never helped him. She was never for kidnapping people and doing this to him. So the fact that they just kill her off in the way that they do, I did not approve of that. Especially after in the last movie, Jigsaw promised that he would have a way to get her out and safe, and the fact that that doesn't happen just really, really sucks. But one of the biggest, I guess, surprises is that Gordon ended up becoming an apprentice of Jigsaw, and we see a bunch of flashes on that he's helped Jigsaw over the years with certain traps, and that I liked. I know a lot of people claim that they figured that out already. They kind of knew that Gordon must have been helping Jigsaw in certain points. So, sure, fine, maybe to them that was a letdown. But hey, if it was predictable, sometimes predictability isn't a bad thing. Because what else could you really have done with Gordon? Really, did you want him to come back and then just get killed off? Because I certainly didn't want that. And the very last shot is Gordon, because Hoffman killed Jill, his deal with Jigsaw was to take care of Hoffman. So he locks Hoffman, chains him in the bathroom where it all began. And I get the symbolism. I like the whole full circle thing where we go back to the original bathroom. It's certainly iconic at this point. But you do sort of feel like a little unsatisfied seeing Hoffman locked in the bathroom because you never see him die. Who knows what really happens to him? Maybe he's there to rot, or maybe he just does what Eric Matthews did and breaks his foot off and gets out. You don't really know. And I think Hoffman, by this point, was so evil that we really need to see his character die. All in all, I don't hate this movie. I don't think it's the worst in the series, but I understand if some people felt unsatisfied, felt like they wanted more, or just a different ending. But I still have fun with it. I enjoy it for certain things. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Saw, the final chapter? Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Later!